Hello everyone, my name is Matt Scorpion and I am here with another Depp Stone Crypt raid guide, specifically this topic of conversation, mods. Specifically, Charged with Light, 7th Seraph, and the good old-fashioned classic, the standard raid mods. Now, the raid mods I'm going to go ahead and start with just because, you know, they're the things most relevant to the raid. So, there are easy ways to actually get a hold of these mods that you can do alone or with people, but if you don't have the time to gather up the people, you can just as easily do it by yourself. So you'll want to load into the raid, and at this first heat bubble, grab your sparrow or your pike or whatever you so damn please, and go ahead and follow this path to the first heat bubble that you'll find out here in the storm. Now notice there is a frostbite buff gathering here that you're going to want to go ahead and lose between each heat bubble. But there's a way to get yourself immune to it. You'll leave your sparrow outside where you can earn frostbite, and from inside the bubble where you still have the buff shelter from the storm, go ahead and hop on that sparrow and you have some immunity that lets you take a little bit more time just getting your way about this place. So you want to follow through down this little canyon, avoid any mines you can come across, make this jump, and from there you don't need to have as much speed. You're going to want to just go ahead and follow all these lamps and occasionally mines to make sure you're still going in the right direction. Now once you pass this little ridgeline, you're going to want to slow up because you're going to start hitting cliffs and caves. So you're going to want to keep this path, still following lamps. Make this little jump right here, as well as this one. Then go ahead and aim right, go this way, ignoring the heat bubble that's down that way. Follow this way, hopefully avoiding that mine. And then find your way into the little caves, aiming for the right side wall if you can, because that makes it a little bit easier to actually make your way towards the first chest that will reward you with raid mods. So whether or not you want, you can jump over there or go around this little ledge if you so want to. Ignore those pikes because that was for other videos I was doing. And then jump up here and up here, and I don't know if it'll still be, it is. And you'll collect this chest. You will be guaranteed to get the first of your raid mods, whether it is amongst the variations, once I can actually get to that menu. You are guaranteed to either get Herd Thinner, Enhanced Operator Augment, the Enhanced Scanner Augment, or the Enhanced Suppressor Augment. Now, of course, these all go for each affinity, Solar, Arc, and Void, but the Herd Thinner, which is the most malleable, goes to General. Now, Herd Thinner, it basically lists as this. Your weapons deal additional damage to non-powerful combatants, i.e. the red bars, the drags, the little things that aren't so important to killing aside from making sure that there isn't so many things shooting at you. Now, each of these other augments, they have benefits for both the augments and without them. So if you exclusively run the suppressor role like me, but still want to have the buff that comes from the not augmented, you can still do that. No problem. So the Enhanced Operator Augment. This makes it so that you gain periodic bursts of healing when your health is depleted, and when you don't have the augment, you collect Orbs of Power, and it can occasionally spawn heavy ammo. Very handy. As well as a Scanner Augment that basically acts as a tether in a small way. The Scanner Augment, the powerful targets are marked by precision damage and take increased damage for a short period, and while with no augment, you gain a bonus to resilience and recovery, and class ability recharges faster. And the personal one I run all the time, the Enhanced Suppressor Augment, that with it, you take decreased damage from powerful foes, like maybe Tanix Reborn, and also, with no augment, your grenades can stun targets. It's basically pretty handy in all essences. All of these mods can be handy for any section in the raid. The only one that might not be is the suppressor, because that only doesn't show up until the second half. So keep in mind, that is all the raid-specific mods that you can get from these chests. You can get 3 in a week without ever actually doing the raid, but if you so actually want to, if you do a raid, you can get your hands on all your augments before the final boss. So that actually makes it pretty easy. Aside from that, I'm going to go ahead and go through the other mods that can be super handy throughout all of these encounters. And these are actually ones that I've used across all encounters, no problem. So, Charged with Light. A lot of people didn't like it because they didn't know how it worked, but since there's actually a lot more mods nowadays, it is a lot easier. So, the one I run is taking charge. That makes it so that we're picking up an orb of light makes you charge with light. And it's super handy when you have so many various masterwork weapons in your inventory, as well as other supers going off, that it becomes super easy to actually become charged with light. Now, there is one more that my friends prefer. Now I need to find it because it is down the list somewhere. Let's see. She's a green one. Aha. This is one that came recently. Charge Harvester. This makes it so that when you are not charged with light, any kill or assist has a small cumulative chance, about a 10% if I think I'd have to guess. It gives you a random chance to become charged with light, but unfortunately it does take a negative hit to your class-specific ability recharge, so Titan's Resilience, Hunters will lose Mobility, and Warlocks will lose Recovery. That does not come at much of a cost, because it is actually super handy. My friends all love this mod. They prefer it over taking charge, but that is just me. So, another mod that is super handy is Kindling the Flame. This is sort of a backup. If you are the guy that's constantly reviving somebody, or maybe running Precious Scars and want to boost up your medic ability, this basically makes it so that when you are charged with light, reviving a downed Guardian will give you a burst of healing, and the more stacks boosts up the... Well, I'm not exactly sure about it. It doesn't say. So I'm going to go ahead and just say it doesn't. Another one that my friends prefer is Reactive Pulse, specific to the Arc affinity. I should mention also Kindling the Flame is a solar damage mod, as well as Charge Harvester being specific to Void. Now, Reactive Pulse, a specifically Arc mod, basically makes it so that when you finish somebody at all times, you gain a powerful overshield, so it's super handy within the raid, because, you know, powerful overshield, but it also makes it that when you take damage while surrounded by enemies, you emit a burst of damaging arc enemies, which I do not personally use this often, but a bunch of my friends all run this, and they swear to God this helps them out so much that they almost never take it off. In addition, Lucent Blade. This is super handy with the Atrax boss fight, because as you can read, dealing damage with a sword gives you bonus sword damage for 5 seconds, consuming 1 stack of charge with light, in addition to greatly increasing the charge rate of your sword. Considering that you can one-phase Atrax 1 with Lament doing the combo, not too difficult because my team did it on our 3rd try, it is super, super handy to any encounter you might be using a sword. Now, aside from that, there is one other that is one I use everywhere for any encounter, and that is Protective Light, a Void affinity charge. This makes it so that while you're charged with light, you gain significant damage resistance against combatants when your shields break. This effect also, it doesn't have stacks. When you have 2 stacks, it breaks, it gives you more time with damage resistance, about 10 seconds. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but it has saved my butt so many times that this is almost a guaranteed equip on any of the raids, including Depp Stone Crypt. And it is super, super heavy. I said heavy because heavy hand is right here. It is super handy to take along with you. Now, there is one other mod that I run guaranteed for Taniks the Abomination that is super, super handy, and that is High Energy Fire. Now, while most of these Charged with Light mods are something that you have to wait until it comes around with Banshee if you're a more newer player, or might just never have bought them when they came around, this one is one that I think everyone has access to because it is a guaranteed equip, because it is already in your inventory regardless. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that most people have this. And basically, when you are charged with light, you get a bonus to weapon damage. Why is this so special for Taniks the Abomination? Because at least if your damage phase is going right, before damage phase, you spawn either a Ward of Dawn or a Well of Light, or Well of Radiance. Those both make orbs for you, and when you collect those orbs, you get a damage buff because of the fact that you just collected those orbs. And man, oh man, this has been super handy in making sure that I have been top damage on my team. Everyone else using slug shotguns and me using Anarchy and a sniper. It is super, super handy just for that reason. And if you don't want to bother with dealing with up and down of constantly gaining and losing your charge with light, you can go ahead and just equip a different piece of armor right before damage phase. If you're quick enough on it, you should have a few seconds of downtime. Now, speaking of damage phase, there is one other mod that my friends have begun experimenting with for Taniks the Abomination that is super handy for them, and it gives them a 30-second damage buff, and that is Berserker. This makes it that when your super ends, it only says when your super ends, but I must stress you need to get kills with this. Now, when your super ends and you have killed enemies, you gain a temporary bonus to weapon damage, and the duration and strength of this bonus increases by the number of combatants you defeat. Now, basically, to actually get this to happen, considering you don't kill Taniks more than once during damage phases, after they plant the second cores during the Taniks fight, after they do that, they go to their own respective areas, the people who do not have a well or a bubble or a other required super, and they just go ahead and kill whatever dregs or captains might be sitting there, and they get a 3 times, or I'm not sure exactly 3 times, it is 3 stacks of a 30-second buff. It is, on paper, it sounds a lot better. I'm not sure the exact numbers that you get for Berserker, but they have sworn that it is beneficial, so I would recommend this. If you have a super that you're not using, if you're on a character that you don't have a Celestial Nighthawk or a Golden Gun, but you have a super, I would recommend putting on Berserker. Now, unfortunately, if you have a roll mod, this will not work with your class mod. At least this is my encounter just because of that. Now, aside from that, there is, of course, the various scavengers and reserves that you want to use, but that is your own personal choice depending on whatever you use. But that is about all I have for recommendations. Generally, Protective Light, Lucent Blade, and Taking Charge, as well as Kindling Flame, are pretty much the standard loadout for all of the encounters in Deep Stone Crypt. I rarely ever have to actually shake it up. The only one that I take on and off would probably be High Energy Fire, just because the only place I actually use it is in the final boss. So, with that, my name is Mad Scorpion. If you enjoyed or learned something from this video, then a like, share, and subscribe would be heavily appreciated. Now, as this video was on the topic of mods, next video would be the loadouts that I use throughout Deep Stone Crypt, and I will see you in that video.